Hi, everyone. This is Margaret Hirsch at Home with Hirsch's, and thank you for joining me tonight. And I'm so happy that you're giving us the time to think about yourself and prioritizing your mental health. You know, we always talk about mind, body, soul. Mind is the first thing, but it's the last thing we think about. We think about our body, we exercise, we eat, we think about our soul and all that type of thing. But how much do we put into our mind? So it's really, really, for me, I'm passionate about living with intention, helping others find balance in their lives. And I really want to share with you tonight that mindfulness and mental health are really, really important. So, I've managed stress on a huge scale. I mean, I actually work on stress so much so that I think sometimes I think I'm addicted to it because if there's no stress, I think something's wrong. But I think we live very stressful lives today and we don't realize it because it's just like, the frog in the pot with the boiling water where it starts boiling slower and gets hotter and hotter and hotter. You don't realize it until suddenly you're boiled up. Well, sometimes I feel like that, but I think today you've got to have a lot of courage. We were just talking about one of our staff members who didn't make it at Hirsch's, and I said, well, Hirsch's is not for sissies. We are tough people out there. We're hardworking, tough people, and that's the kind of people that we are, and that's the kind of people we mix with. But not everybody is that kind of person. So sometimes it gets very difficult. When you're a soft, kind person, you've been taught, especially as a woman, to be sweet and nice and kind, and then life throws you a couple of curveballs and you think, oh my gosh, what do I do? So I think it's very important to understand mindfulness and when I think about the definition is that mindfulness is being fully present in the moment, aware of your thoughts, feelings, and environment without judgment. And I think that's where it is. And so many people judge us today, and we judge ourselves more than anybody else. So I think it starts within you. First of all, I just was talking to a lady here who's going through a terrible time. And I said, first of all, you've got to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, nobody else is going to love you. So that's number one. Secondly, don't be so hard on yourself. And I know that I'm very hard on myself. If I do something wrong, I get so upset with myself. And you've just got to say, it wasn't something wrong. I'm either learning or I'm winning. One of the two. If I'm not winning, I'm learning, and I'm learning from it. And so people think that mindfulness is just like meditation and sitting doing nothing, going, that type of thing. But it really isn't. There's so much more to it. And I think if we understand it, education on anything just helps you understand it so much better. And then you can deal with it when it comes your way. And you never know when it's going to come your way. Everything's going along swimmingly and then crash, your life goes into turmoil and it happens. So for me, and the part that I want to talk about is mindful eating, because I think you've got to be really mindful of what you eat. What you put into your body will affect your moods, and it affects the way you think, it affects how you feel. And there's so many things in the outer world that affect your inner world and make you feel that you're not good enough, that things aren't going well enough, that you're not happy enough. And you have to take control of that and take control of your emotions as well, because they're a very big part of it. So, I think I've been waffling along enough now. Kerry, tell us, well, first of all, tell us when you, with all the mindfulness people at the big show that you were in the Netherlands, how did they handle mindfulness and mental health today? Because it really is something that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I was going to add to exactly what you were saying is like who you surround yourself with is who you become. So we
Yes.
know that saying, but are you doing it? Are you filling your space with very positive people, or are there toxic people that are in your space? When I was at the event, these people are high energy. They are all really positive. They're going for life. They're striving. So, I mean, there was not one person there that I didn't want to be around. It's like, I want to be around all these thousands of people. So
Yeah,
like who do you surround yourself with plays a big part in your own mental game,
absolutely.
because you don't realize that somebody else's energy, it affects your energy field, and it really is correct. Yeah, it can pull you down. But you mentioned food, and this is my favorite topic, my favorite topic.
Yeah.
And so what I want to mention is this has been scientifically proven. Sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine.
Yeah.
And I have seen a brain scan of a cocaine addict and a brain scan of a sugar addict.
Yeah.
And the brain scans are almost identical. And this is exactly what happens. It affects the brain function.
Yeah.
Sugar affects the brain function. And if your brain function has been affected, your moods, your everything about the way you think has
Yeah.
been affected. And when I saw the brain scan, it's as if the brain shrinks. You know,
Yes.
it's like you've got a smaller little part of that brain compared to a person that doesn't eat sugar. You know,
Yeah.
somebody who doesn't have sugar, it's like their brain is functioning really, really well. And we know there's a gut-brain
Yes.
connection. You know, they've also said that nowadays Alzheimer's and dementia is
Yeah.
now being classified as type 3 diabetes.
Yes.
So what you're putting in is affecting, is your brain shrinking or
Yeah.
is it not?
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think what a lot of people don't understand is if you eat bread, which is a carbohydrate, and you don't need it in your body, so you're eating a lot of bread, which, and I love bread, I could live on bread, I have to say. But if you're eating a lot of bread, that when it gets into your system, if you don't need that carbohydrate, it gets turned into sugar. So you don't have to eat sugar per se. The things that you eat will get turned into sugar in your body. And that in turn puts on obviously the extra weight because your body thinks, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with this. So I'm just going to stick it on her hips type of thing. And then, you walk around with this extra weight, and you where the hell did this come from? Well, it was actually the bread you ate, not the sugar you ate. But I think,
Correct.
yeah, to me, with children, what's the first thing you want to give a child? Have a sweetie. Oh my gosh, and I see kids drinking Coke. My absolute worst is to see a child drinking Coke out of a baby bottle. I mean, that's my absolute worst. I have to
Oh
stop
my
myself going to say to the mother, please don't do this to your child. But they do, and especially here. I mean, I had to laugh. It was my boss today. She said, we were talking about what we ate on the weekend. She said, I ate hamburgers. And I thought, oh, my gosh, really,
God.
that's like the worst thing you can possibly eat. But people do because why is it? It is a habit. That is
Yeah.
what they have. That's what they sort of their go-to food. And with sweets and children, it's just like, it's just too much for me. But anyway, it's something that you learn from really small, and it's really hard to break. Now, the question
Yeah.
to you is, how do you break that habit of wanting the hamburgers, the sweets, all the things that you shouldn't eat, the Coke?
Yeah. So the first thing you absolutely have to do is you have to use your willpower. And and so you have to dig really deep and go, I am making a shift and I'm making a change and I don't want that stuff in my sight. Because if it is in your pantry, if it is in
Yeah,
your fridge, you're going to go for it because you know what? Life is busy. You go for the convenience.
yeah.
But if you can spend a little bit more time, although you know what? South African is so spoiled with Woolworths. You've
Yes.
got good food in Woolworths that is really convenient. And I met somebody over the weekend and he traveled to South Africa and he was going, Woolworths is amazing. Like he'd never been there. And it was like, Woolworths. So Woolworths, I promise you, is for me, like you guys don't realize that that is
Yeah.
on your doorstep. And that for me is just go through the healthy section of
Yeah.
Woolworths and actually choose those foods. That for me is so much more convenient than
Yes.
having the refined sugars and having, the food that is going to play with your mood swings and
Yes.
your mental health. If anybody is feeling down, if anybody is feeling depressed, the first thing you've got to do is change the food. Change the
Yeah.
food. So you use willpower. And then the minute you actually start eating that healthy food on a more regular basis, you will find that you don't crave it, that
Yeah.
you actually don't crave the sugars. But that you've got to train your
You've
body,
got to
you've got to
break
train your
that
taste
cycle.
buds. Yes,
It's
yes.
like going cold turkey when you stop smoking or stop taking drugs
Yeah.
or something, because you're going to do that. I know for me, I used to love pasta. So now what I get is I get the spiralized courgettes and spiralized squash and that type of thing. So I have that instead of pasta, and I have it with a basil pesto instead of all that white sauce that I used to throw over it. And then, so hopefully that'll keep me alive a bit longer and a bit healthier. But, it's small changes that make a huge difference, but it's actually forcing yourself to make those changes, especially when you eat out a lot, which we do. I find it very difficult. And we're just looking at a restaurant that we were going to go to this weekend. And I said, I can't go there. There's absolutely nothing on their menu for me. And as soon as we finish this webinar, I'm going to write them and say, it's time you put something for vegans on your menu, because you can't just give people, they've got pork and beef and
Yeah.
they've got a lot of seafood here as well. They don't cater. And so you've got to actually be it's quite tricky, especially when you're here in America, where they don't cater for vegans at all. Let me tell you, especially not here in Fort Lauderdale, they really don't. So you've got to take literally your life in your hands and say, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm not going to eat, and this is what I'm going to eat. But I know that normally they have side orders of asparagus and Brussels sprouts and things like that, and I have those instead of the the other stuff that they have. But let's
Yeah.
talk about modern stresses today, because there's so many things that stress us out. There's with technology. Oh, for me, even to go to a show here, you've got your tickets on your phone and you've got to put them into a wallet and you've got to get them out and scan the phone. And I'm so scared I'm not going to scan it right. And it's, to me, that's very stressful. And also, life is very busy. You're busy all the time, busy doing this, busy doing that, and you've got to find time for yourself. So there's a lot of sort of anxiety. Am I going to get this all done? What's going to happen if I don't get it done? There's burnout where you just say, I've had enough. I'm just not going to do this anymore. Poor sleep. I've never been a sleeper, as you know, but if I've got something on my brain, then I just don't sleep at all. And that definitely reduces your focus. So how can you start eating better and looking after yourself better so that you don't let those things get on top of you? Because basically that's what they do. If you don't take control of them, they take control of you.
Absolutely, 100%. In America now, the football season has started. And
Yes.
so everybody is probably sitting by their seats for hours and hours and hours. But my son is big into it. So even though we're not in America, he watches it. But it was so amazing because even yesterday, when he was watching the football, he goes, Mom, it's too much screen time for me, because
Yeah.
I was actually, he had his laptop, so he was doing some work whilst he
Yeah.
was watching football, and then
Yeah.
he's got his phone. It's like 3
Yeah.
devices that you're on, and that's not unusual for a lot of.
Yeah.
Anyway, he went for a walk, and he went down to the beach and went for a walk, and he goes, oh, I needed a brain break. And
Yeah.
I think that is so important for us to actually have brain breaks,
Yeah.
because it really does recalibrate and recharge our brains. And
Yes.
so have a brain break from all technology. And even if you just have a brain break, like during the day, just a little bit of time out during the day where there's
Yeah.
not all of this coming at you all the time.
Yeah.
I think that for your mental health is so important. They talk about it with people that have concussions. People
Yeah.
that actually have a brain injury, you've got to have brain breaks. Well,
Yeah.
I think anybody that lives in a stressful life at the moment, needs brain breaks, not just concussions. So if you want to look after that brain, one of the things you've got to adapt is during the course of the day,
Yeah.
take time out to have a brain breaks.
Yeah.
And whether that means that you actually just go outdoors, sit in your garden, look at a tree from outside your window in your office, just look at some nature, be in
Yeah.
some nature, because the nature calms the eyes.
Yeah.
Just looking at a plant in an office, looking at a tree, it calms the eyes, it calms the brain.
Yeah.
So that's what you want to do. You want to take time out during the day just to tap into nature.
Now, let's talk about mindfulness a bit, because mindfulness is so good because it lowers your cortisol, which is a stress hormone. It improves your emotional regulation. You can regulate your emotions. You don't flare up or, get miserable and all that type of thing. And it builds resilience through tough times. And we all go through these tough times from time to time. And we just have to prepare ourselves. We've got to have the courage, but we also have to know how to just take control of our mind and make sure that it's not going to take us on the wrong sort of thing. So mindfulness doesn't remove life's challenges, but it changes how we respond to them. And that's really what it's all about. It doesn't matter what happens to you, it's how you respond to it that makes a difference. So tell us about mindfulness and how you practice mindfulness.
I think this is like you said, it is so important for us to take control. Nobody else is thinking our thoughts.
Yeah.
Nobody else knows what's going on in our head. And often when we're feeling down, or there are people with anxiety, or there are people with depression, it's what are they thinking? And
Yeah.
they're thinking a lot of negativity. That's what they're thinking. So for me, a huge part of my day is taking some time out of meditating and praying and
Yeah.
just being in the quietness. The one thing that I do is I take a little bit longer in the shower because I just feel the water is not only calming, but I'm having these beautiful, calm thoughts about, what am I preparing for the day, or what was my day like today, and what are the good things that came out of my day today. So I'm always looking at focusing on the good things and focusing on the positive. And then honestly, I do, if you really look at your day, and we've got 24 hours in a day, and think about the day as we've got day and we've got night. We've got light, we've got dark.
Yeah.
How much time is your mind in the darkness?
Yeah.
And how much time is your mind in the lightness?
Yeah.
And so the lightness is the positivity, and obviously the darkness is the negativity.
Mhm.
And so when you think about the day as light and dark, is there an opportunity that we leave the darkness for when we go to sleep at night and we need to calm the brain? And we try most of our day be in the lightness,
Yes.
feel light, feel energetic, and have positive self-talk. That
Yes.
positive self-talk only comes from you. It
Yes.
cannot come from anybody. You've got to train yourself to
Yeah.
have the positive self-talk to make sure you're in the light more than
Yeah.
what you are in the dark. So I'd love to know in the chat, out of a percentage of 100, how much percentage is your brain in the light throughout the day? What percentage are you in the light throughout the day? If you can pop that in the chat. And I'm going to answer Crystal's questions there. First of all, she says, is rye or sourdough okay? I have found sourdough on the gut is probably the most gentle because of the fermenting process that it's gone through. But whole wheat pasta, no, sorry, whole wheat pasta is no good. It also just sinks and stays in your gut for a long, long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So out of 100%, Margaret, you've got 80. Ida, I'm presuming you're saying 80% there as well. So what percentage out of 100 are you in the lightness? We'd love to know.
But I think it's a learned art because I
Yes.
even say to everybody when people talk to me, if they say, don't forget, I say, rather say, please remember. They say, no problem. I say, rather say amazing, wonderful, fabulous. And I get picked out about it because somebody the other day said, no problem. I said, oh, please don't say that. It's like jars a bell in me because it's just, the words you speak are what you prophesy into your life. So it's so important. But let's go to the gratitude journal because we say at night, it's so important in the day, I'm always grateful for my day. I thank God for my day. And then I write my gratitude journal so that I've got the things that I've got. And then in the morning, I write up and I say what I'm grateful for. And I try and have different things every day because if you just write 3 every day, by the end of the year, you've got 1,000 things that you're grateful for. So I think that's really, really important and to write it down because when you go through those tough times and you think, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming, you can look at your gratitude journal and see what you're grateful for. And you can never be depressed and grateful at the same time. So it's really important. A lot of people are depressed. A lot of people, that 1 in 4 Americans take antidepressants. I just couldn't believe those numbers. And that was what I read this week. 1 in 4 taking antidepressants. Now, how bad is that? If you can't control yourself enough, you've got to have that. You've got to wean yourself off them at some stage. So we're weaning ourselves off a lot of stuff. And one of the things is definitely has to be the antidepressants. But I think it's also important to set an intention for the day. So you say, today I'm going to focus on, for me, being patient. I'm the most impatient person. And, I'm in this new job now and I've got to, get these sales going and they're not going as fast as I want them to go. And I'm so impatient and I'm saying to them and they said, oh, Margaret, 74% of realtors haven't sold anything this year, let alone anything this month. I was, oh, I'm so impatient. So today I'm going to focus on being patient. And I really have to force myself to do it because it's not in my nature to be a patient person. So I think, it's that sort of 1 minute of stillness before you start the day. That's when you say, today I'm going to be a patient person. I'm not going to be impatient. I'm not going to want to make things go fast and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And
If
also,
we,
sorry, carry on.
Sorry, I was going to just go back to your gratitudes because a good way to retrain your brain is when your brain waves are in alpha and theta state.
Yes.
And alpha state is first thing in the morning, and theta state is as you're drifting off to bed at night. So
Yes.
those are the 2 best times of the day to do your gratitudes, to do your intentions, to
Yeah.
put positive things out there, because that starts retraining that
Yes.
subconscious mind that could always be a little bit in the negative, but you can make it in the positive. You can train you to come out of the anxiety, to come out of the depression. And this is what a lot of people don't realize. They keep on thinking they've got to go and see somebody, or they've got to go to take medication, or they've got to change the biochemicals in their brain. You
Yeah.
can do that. You can
Yeah.
change the biochemicals in your brain.
So if anybody hasn't read Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Yourself, please read it because it is fantastic. It really is. It's a free download. You don't have to buy it. It's free download. And it is a fantastic book. And that's something that I refer to very, very often. But I think to me, the most important thing, and we were away this week, so we ate out literally for breakfast, lunch, and supper, which is not good. But anyway, we noticed that people would sit down at a table to eat. And the first thing they do is take out their phones and start looking at their phones, not looking at each other or talking to each other. They'll be looking at their phones. And after a couple of days, we started doing the same. I said, and this is not going to happen. We are just going to put our phones away and we're going to talk to each other now. And we spoke to other people who are around and spoke to the waitress. Otherwise, you just focused on your phone. But I think it's an escape mechanism. I was looking at the people and, it's an escape mechanism. You don't have to bother to talk to anybody. You don't have to bother to think of something to say. You don't have to bother. You can just look at your phone and lose yourself in that. And I think that's what you do. You lose yourself and then you've got to go find yourself again at some stage or another. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. This whole thing about scrolling and you move through stuff so quickly on a phone and you're on to the next and you're on to the next. Well, actually, it's a brain drain. You
Yes.
are draining your brain and eventually you become numb. You
Yeah.
become numb. And this once again is about how do you recharge you? How do you get out there? And I have found the most important thing that you can do is get outdoors and be bare feet on the ground. Do
Yes.
that grounding exercise where you're actually putting your feet on the ground and you're plugging into earth again.
Yes.
You're not out here thinking about things, being distracted by things. You're actually
Other,
plugging
other
in.
people's rubbish. It's what
Yes,
mostly is.
yes,
Yeah. And
exactly, exactly.
And then, of course, breathing. Of course, I'm just doing the Wim Hof breathing now. I don't know. Have you ever done Wim Hof breathing?
Yes,
And it's,
yes.
I can't hold my breath for very long. Other people are holding their breath for like 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. I can hold on for a few seconds. But anyway, it's a whole other story. But I think, we've got to go back to at Hirsch as we sell, and we have to get onto everybody's senses. We have smelling machines in all our shops that make them smell nice. If you go to any Hirsch's, they should smell the same. And people relate, they don't think about it, but when they walk in, oh my gosh, this is a Hirsch's because it smells like this. You've been into Abercrombie and Fitch and all those places, you could go and by the smell. You've got to know how you feel. You've got to, the music we play is stuff that is conducive to relaxing you and, so you get into a buying mood when you're in the store, rather than jazz and rock, which would wind you up into a state. So, I think to go to all those different smell, taste, because taste is really important. You've got to have use all your senses every single day, and to be the best you that you can possibly be. So, building Hirsch's, we had so many challenges and we worked really long hours and we worked really hard. We had to have that courage. You had to be able to draw on that courage from inside you to pull you through when we went through like the looting and the place burning down and the floods and all those type of things. So, and in those times, what I used to do is I used to think of what it would be like when I could do whatever I wanted to do. And now I'm at that stage of my life where I can do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it. So it's really, you go through those hard times, but you've got to know the good times do come at the end of them. So I think to me, travel, enjoying my freedom and maintaining mindfulness as a daily practice is really, really important. And it's literally taking control of your own mind. And if you can't take control of it, nobody else can. And I think that's the message we must get across. So Kerry, what you say to people who just say, I'm overwhelmed, I'm emotional, I'm blah, blah, you work with them all day. How do you bring them back into line?
Yeah. So what you were just saying there is it's so true because you know what, for your own life, you've got to have dreams. You've got to have dreams. You've got to have a vision. You've got to have like, what do you want to achieve? If you go through life and go, oh, I'm just every day I'm in the same, situation. Every day I'm on this hamster wheel. Every day I feel like I'm not doing anything. I just say, do one thing different today.
Yeah,
Just one thing different. Just drive a different route, go to
yeah,
a different place, speak to a different person. Just one thing different just takes it out of that norm. And I
yes,
think that's the way to start living life, is start living, what are you dreaming about? Because your dreams, Margaret, I know dreams come true.
they
Dreams
do.
come true. But
They
have you visualized it? Are you living, are you thinking about it every day? Or are you in a really, stuck in a cycle,
Yeah,
which often happens when
yeah,
we're exposed to, we're thinking about everybody else's lovely lives and we're not
yeah,
thinking about ourselves. You've got
yeah,
to come back and you've got to implement,
yeah,
what is it going to take for me to live my dream life, to live in my dream home, to be
yeah.
surrounded by my dream people, to travel to my dream destinations. What does it take? It takes you thinking about those things, think about the good things,
Yeah.
think about the amazing things. And then what you do is like, okay, if I think about them, how do I feel it? Now you've got to get into the feeling of it. So
Yeah.
I mean, I love my pets. I love my pets. And I tell you now, whilst I've got a cat sitting on my lap right now. And normally the dog sits under my desk. But the feeling that you get from an animal or a pet is unconditional love. They
Yes.
just love you. They love you.
Yeah.
So if you feel the love from a pet, you immediately, that puts me in a good frame of mind. So now I'm feeling love, and I'm thinking about my dreams. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about the dreams, and I'm feeling love for myself and love for my surroundings and love for my pets and love for my family. So
Yeah.
you actually put a thought next to the feeling, and that's how you actually get yourself out of the anxiety, the depression, the
Yeah.
negativity. You actually, you've got to do the work, but you combine it with a good feel. There's my dream, and I'm
Yeah.
feeling it. I'm
Yeah.
feeling it.
You know,
Yeah.
as I told you, we were traveling around America now, and it was so incredible. We went to this tiny little town in the middle of South Carolina somewhere, and we decided to go for a meal. So we park and we go, and we see two houses. One was absolutely pristine, and it looked just amazing. The other one just had junk all over it. There was rubbish on the veranda, there was rubbish in the garden, and everything. And I said to Ellen, I don't even have to know what these people are like, but I can just look at their house and see who's the organized, disciplined person and who's totally disorganized, living with all this negativity, other people living with all the positivity. But let's just talk about balance, because everybody talks about balance, but it's hard to have balance, because you've got to get up in the morning, you've got to do what you've got to do, you've got to get to work, you've got to do your work, you've got to earn the money. You have to have some time for yourself as well. And it's hard to get that going when you've got children and you've got all sorts. I'm so lucky now, my children are all grown up, my grandchildren are nearly grown up. So I don't have that drama anymore. So, but I think some people can almost get to burnout when you just get into that, as you said, the hamster wheel, and you're going round and round and round. So I always say mindfulness is the key to longevity, creativity, and joy, and that you have to just take control of your mind to be there. But I think what a lot of people, you've got to choose progress, not perfection. Perfection sort of, you want everything to be just right. It has to be perfect. And in life, nothing is perfect. So I think if you can get over that stage, what do you think about that?
I want to. I just want to read you a little sentence. I went to a beautiful women's event this weekend at this viaduct in Auckland, and this amazing woman, Sarah Brown, stood up and spoke. And I'll tell you what she said. And I actually took a photograph of it, because I thought, oh, she's got it. Work-life balance isn't my goal. Work-life integration is. And I
Okay.
think that's where people get so
I think you can
anxious.
say one or the other, but
Yes,
you can't. You can
yes,
integrate.
you integrate it. Because Margaret, that's what you've done.
Yeah.
You've integrated your work life. I've done that as well. I integrate my work life. I've got a home office where I just love working from a home office, and I've integrated my work into my life, and I
Mm-hmm.
love it. I love what I'm doing. So she carries on to say, my work fuels my play.
Yeah.
My play
Yeah.
fuels my work, and
Yeah.
I give my best to what I commit to.
Yes.
How awesome
Yeah.
is that?
That is awesome. That is
Yeah.
just so awesome. And if you can do that, then you're really in the pound seats. So
Yes.
let's just think of everybody, if everybody can think of one small habit that you could start tomorrow to bring more mindfulness into your routine and to integrate your work life so much better. It's just if you had to do one thing, I'm racking my brain to think if I could do one thing. I do quite a few things that integrate my work life balance. But to me, I just think to me, I get my energy from other people. So I just feel that I must mix with people more than I'm doing now. So because having a home office is fantastic. I love it. And mine is absolutely beautiful. But I just miss people. And I think
Yes.
I just need to get in
Yes.
with people a bit more than I've been
Yes.
doing. So if you can all put in the chat, what's one thing that you could start tomorrow to bring more mindfulness into your routine and help you to integrate your work and your life the way you want it to be. I think that's a really, if you get that right, then you're in the pound seats. So
Absolutely. And she not only works with her husband, but
yes,
she has brought both her children into her business, and the one is 5 years old.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yes, it's like he wears the branded t-shirts and he's on the videos, and so it's kind of like you just play with
Yeah,
work, you
yeah,
play with your family,
yeah.
and it really is, it can work, it can work.
Absolutely. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So now
Yeah.
research shows that mindfulness can bring about remarkable changes in the brain. It lowers anxiety, reduces stress, and improves our emotional well-being. So according to a study published by the journal Psychological Science, participants who practiced mindfulness showed increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain associated with decision-making and self-regulation. So you need to practice mindfulness. It's like a circle. You practice mindfulness and your life becomes better than if you don't practice it. It's as simple as that. So talk to us about the practice of mindfulness. It's being present,
Yeah.
it's taking small steps, but it does need daily attention. Where do we start with mindfulness?
Yeah. I think you've mentioned that before, is like you set up, good routines, but you put the good habits and the good routines into what you are already doing. So
Mm.
for me, it's like the minute I'm in the shower, I'm already practicing my mindfulness, and I'm already tuning in. I'm asking questions, I'm saying affirmations, I'm saying my gratitudes. That all happens in the shower for me. So it's not as if I've got to do it separate to something that I'm already doing. I also say to women, because a big thing with, I feel, mainly women, is they don't sit on the toilet long enough for a bowel movement to happen quickly. I said, sit on the toilet, not with your phone. Don't sit on the toilet with a magazine.
Yeah.
People used to do that. They used to actually give themselves 5 minutes
You
to go to the
you have
toilet.
magazines next to the toilet. At
Yes,
our home, we always had magazines next to the toilet.
yes,
We don't have any more.
yes. I know we don't, because we're always in a rush. We're always in a rush. But allow your body to have a movement
Yeah,
that is easeful, and
yeah.
then you sit and you read positive things. Don't read negative things, but
Yeah.
sit there and read something
Don't read the
positive.
newspaper, read a book or
Yes,
something.
yes, yes. You know, I um I remember going on a course once, and they said put a journal next to your toilet. And
Oh,
every
really?
time you're on the toilet in the morning,
Yeah.
you write in the journal, write your gratitudes, or write something positive about a family member. And
Okay.
then the rest of the family comes and uses the toilet, and they can read the positive things that you've written, and then they can write something positive.
Oh,
And
wow,
so,
that's different.
yes, it was beautiful. We actually did it for a couple of years. We were writing something in a journal, and we were sharing as a family. It was like you only write something good about each other, and you
Yeah.
share it. You share it when you're sitting on the toilet. You
Yeah.
get to read all the good stuff that somebody else has said about you. So yeah,
Oh, that's so funny. At Hirsch's, we have to give a compliment every day. So every day somebody has to compliment somebody else in the branch. And that really works because how often do you think you're going to compliment somebody, but you just don't say anything? So there you have the platform to be able to compliment them.
yeah,
But yeah, it's just incredible. So I think what I say to people about mindfulness is to start small, just begin with a few minutes a day,
yeah,
because even when we teach meditation, you can't just meditate for 20 minutes. It's not going to work. So you've got to really start small, start with a few minutes a day and
yeah,
build up from there. Breathing, of course, is the most important thing. That's why I'm learning. It's never been my strong point, but I'm doing the Wim Hof breathing course now, which is very, very different, where you literally hold your breath for longer and longer every day. It takes a bit of getting used to, I have to be honest. And then always mindful eating. I'm very, very conscious of what I put into my mouth. So nature walks is what you always say. And we spend a lot of time in nature. Yesterday we were canoeing down the Rainbow Springs River. It was fantastic. And but now talk to us about mindfulness apps. There's so many apps available today, and I know that there are quite a few available on mindfulness. Do you know of any, or can you point us in the direction of any apps that might be able to help us with mindfulness?
Honestly, I'm a big fan of Mind Valley. So, Mind Valley have so many free meditations. And
Mm.
so, if you go onto the Mind Valley app, you can download the Mind Valley app, and there are absolutely such beautiful free. There's a beautiful, the frequency that goes with those meditations is really, really there. So, I use those only because there's so many different ones. And
Yeah,
so you don't have to have the same one every day. You can
yeah,
actually make a shift and a change.
yeah,
But I do want to mention one more thing about, like you spoke about nature walks, and And this is something that years ago when I was in South Africa and I was a presenter of a TV show called Earthbeat, and I would go around interviewing people and find out, how they lived and how to live sustainably and how to live longer and how to live more healthy. And, so I interviewed everybody from doctors and professors and, all these people that were living this. But I came across this one chap that was working in a organic market, which is Oranje in Cape Town. And he was the gardener in the organic gardens there.
Yeah.
And I just interviewed him about his story.
Mm.
And it was quite incredible because 4 years before I interviewed him, he was retrenched from his job and he had no way of actually providing for his family. He was a welder. And he had no way of providing for his family, and he just couldn't get employed anywhere. There was just like, there wasn't those jobs around anymore. And so he saw this job advertised as a volunteer in this market, in this garden.
Yeah.
And he said, well, what's he got to lose? He's doing nothing anyway, feeling incredibly depressed. He said he was battling to get himself out of bed every morning. But eventually he got himself to go and volunteer at this job. And he said he would arrive there, take his boots off every day, and walk bare feet on the garden and in between the soil, have his hands in the soil whilst he was in charge of the compost heap as well. He'd make the compost heap, and then he would plant all the seeds for all the food and the veggies and everything. And he said to me one thing that I've never ever forgotten. He said, I arrive here at work, I take my shoes and socks off, and I feel as if the depression is coming right from my brain, getting sucked all the way down into the earth.
Yeah.
He said, I feel like it's actually getting, it's coming. He didn't have the words for grounding, but that's what he was doing. He was grounding. And it was just fascinating the way he described himself. He said, and the more I did it, the more positive I became. And the more positive I became, he says, they offered me a full-time position. And he said, now I've got a full-time position and I take some of the leftover food and veggies and I can feed my family. His whole life changed. And he said, I don't think I could ever go back to being a welder. Yeah. He said, I'm now a gardener. And Margaret, he was a white man. So, a white man in South Africa, that's huge for him to actually, for him to get beyond all the ego and what he should have been doing and how he should have been providing. He goes, my mental state was healed in this garden. And that's amazing.
Yeah. That's just incredible. It's just so wonderful. And I think a lot of us, if we just had to get into something like that, and you say, but I live in a flat, I haven't got a garden to go to, but there's so many places, and we go to the state parks here because they're beautiful state parks. And in South Africa, you've got the state parks as well, which are just amazing. And you've got the countryside and all that type of thing. So let's just think about mental health awareness. At one stage, people never spoke about it. If you felt you were going about crackers, you never told anybody about it. Now it's quite normal to discuss it and to say, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. And people can help you to get out there. And there are a lot of people who can help you. At which stage do you think that a person should actually go and seek proper help that you pay for, and you've got to put it on the medical aid will pay for some of it. But, at some stage you just feel, I don't know that I can cope, I'm battling to cope. What do I do? So tell me how people should handle it. Yes, you can try and handle it yourself, but sometimes if you can't, what do you do?
Yeah. So Margaret, my big advice is the last resort is the antidepressants. That must be your absolute last resort, because you cannot get off those easy. You've got to wean yourself off those. You've got to understand that those drugs play with the biochemical brain waves in your mind. And so it's not something to take lightly. This is not something. So when you are looking for help and assistance, you choose a therapist that is going to be able to support you before the prescription. Really before the prescription. So you do everything in your power to find the right person for you. And I always say to people, it's got to be somebody that is going to work for you. You've got to feel like this is a good connection and this person has my best interest. This
Yes.
person is not just prescribing stuff to see the next patient, to see the next patient, to see the next patient. This person is going to give me the time and is going to give me the right thing for me.
Yes.
So, I always say, please, the last thing is the medication, because it's so hard. I know it's so hard for people to come off, and I know it affects them. And I've heard the stories, the antidepressants get given and then the suicide happens.
Yeah.
So it is not a thing that you take lightly. This is not something you take lightly at all. So I would definitely, there is so many therapies out there nowadays, and people really do forget that
Yes.
nature heals.
Yeah.
Nature really heals. So if there's a therapist that can actually align you with nature, that is going to be just, so much better for your overall well-being, is that you've got somebody that works with you every step of the way as you're moving yourself out of the negative spiral that you could be feeling. So this is not an easy subject at all. I think the big thing is you have to change what you eat. You have to change what you're putting in there, because if they know that the brain shrinks with refined sugars, they know that that is going to affect the way you think about yourself and the way you think about your life. So you've got to take refined sugars out. So that's why a therapist has to actually advise you on multiple things in your life, not just like, one angle of mental health. There is the gut-brain connection. It is real. It is there. You don't get the messages correctly from the gut to the brain. And in fact, the gut sends, it's something, I don't know the stats, but your gut sends so many more messages to the brain than what the brain sends to the gut. And so you've got to feed those message pathways absolutely correctly. And if you feel like the nerves, you're in this nervous state, and the nerves are not are not connecting, because the nerves are the things that take the messages up and down. And if you're constantly nervous and anxious, the one thing I recommend to all those people is a vitamin B1. You've got to go for vitamin B1. It's actually going to just help insulate your nerve bundles and calm the nervous system. So for me, it's getting the vitamins and the food into the system first. You make sure you're hydrated. You make sure that you're in nature. And as an absolute last resort, then you go to somebody that can help you with the medicine.
Yeah. Well, I think education is the key to all of this at the end of the day. If you know what to do and you can do something that's going to help you to get you out of there. And I think, just mixing with other people and listening to what they say, and everybody's got an idea, but don't take what they say it's worked for them. Is it going to work for you? I think you have to prioritize that as well, and know that mentally and emotionally you can cope. I always say God will never give you something that you can't cope with. Whatever he gives you, he knows you can cope with. So you'll never get something that you can't cope with. So I think that, mindfulness and mental health are so closely connected, and it's all connected with food at the end of the day. So the first thing you would definitely do is change your diet to meat, to vegetables, because they give you absolutely everything that you need, and to eat a rainbow plate. So we have beetroot, and we have red peppers, and we have tomatoes, and we have, yellow squash and all sorts of things, always on the plate, all the different colors. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. To actually own, and to own that whatever's happened to you is your fault. So often we blame everybody else for what's happened. Oh, I'm like this because so-and-so, this happened at school, this happened, blah, blah, blah. To take ownership for yourself. They say people who take ownership of themselves are 80% more successful than any other people. And the other thing, another stat that I've got, is that 97% of the nutrition that goes into your body is used in your brain. So you've got to feed your brain first and think of what are the things that are going to feed the brain to make them help, to get that right. So, it's just incredible. And, talking about mindfulness, mental health, all that type of thing, you've got that on the one side, you've got depression and stress on the other side. Now, to me, if you're helping other people, it's definitely going to get rid of your depression and your stress. And I think that's the secret. Find somebody else that you can help. Go and serve at an old age home. My uncle's 85. He sings at old age homes, and some of the people are falling asleep. And I said to him, "Don't you get upset?" He said, "No, because they love the way I sing. I put them to sleep." And and I think at 85 for him, he's a professor, a chemical engineer professor, and he goes and he sings to people in old age homes. And by doing that, he said it keeps me on my toes. It keeps me wide awake. I know I've got to be there at a certain time. I've got to sing these songs. I've got to memorize the songs. We're continually learning new songs so we can memorize them. And he said, just by helping those people, I'm actually helping myself more than anything else.
Yeah, and I do want to mention that because it is about being in service to others, and so many people are, especially as you age, you're looking for a purpose. Like,
Yes.
a lot of people that retire say, I lost my purpose. I lost my
Yes.
purpose. Well, I truly believe everybody's purpose is to be more of themselves and to be able to serve others.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
everybody's purpose. So if you can wake up in the day and give somebody a compliment or
Yeah.
make somebody smile, it could
Mhm.
be the teller behind the supermarket that you go to. But if
Yeah.
you just make somebody else smile in that
Yeah.
day, you've
Yeah.
lived your purpose. You've been
Absolutely.
on purpose. You've been of service to somebody else. So
Yes.
every day, if you can think about being of service to somebody else, that for me, there's no place for depression. There's no place
Absolutely.
for it because it's like you showing up in
Yeah.
life for others. And it doesn't have to be that you are like, I mean, he's in an old age, you're brilliant if you can do something like that. But what about just the family in your household?
Mm.
Are you waking up and being on purpose for them? Are you, making them smile? Are you
Mm.
bringing them joy? Are you, are you just being around the people that you're normally surrounded with?
Yeah.
I've got my mom's 81 and she's living with me at the moment and loving life here, by the way, but catches the bus every day. And because she catches the bus every day to somewhere different, she goes somewhere different. She comes back with a story. She said,
Yeah.
I was sitting on the bench at the beach today, and this 56-year-old man came and sat next to me, and we started chatting. And it just like lit her up, but it's because she was made herself available to have a conversation.
Yes.
She just didn't sit there and close herself off. So make yourself available to strangers to have these
Mhm.
conversations, and you'll find that you give to them, they'll give to you. That
Yes.
energy exchange is there. It's there. So if you want to light yourself up, go and be of service to somebody else, and you'll see yourself light up.
I tell you, I work with entrepreneurs, as you know, all day, every day. And they always say to me, this is my business. And I said, but how are you helping other people? Because it's not
Yes.
about helping yourself. They think, I'll start this business. I'm going to do this for myself. Yes, you are, but you're not going to do it for yourself if you're not helping other people along the way. And I think it's really important that any business that you go into, you have to be there in the service industry. We are in the service industry. We started our business in the service industry, and we serve now, and we service the products that we sell, and we're there to serve all our customers. And I think that's what gives us our strength. People say, oh, how come your business is so successful and others are falling by the wayside? Well, because we take care, first of all, of our staff, ourselves first, then our staff, and then our suppliers and our customers. We look after all of them. And I think being in the service industry like that, and you're serving all the time, I think people were put on earth to serve. And I think the people who are depressed have stopped serving other people. And I think if you start serving other people, then that's how you get there. And I know if I'm employing people, if they've been a waiter or waitress, I say, come on in, because you know how to serve, and you'll do incredibly well. So I think the other thing is community support. I think as we've sort of all become more isolated, and COVID really made us isolated, to get back to community. And I'm trying at work. We all work from home in my office, and a few of us come into the office every day. I do, because I just like going there. And I just said, we've got to get more people into the office, because the community in the office, just the talking and, around the coffee machine, just saying good morning to the people, that sort of thing is what a lot of people who are working from home are not having. And they've tried the WeWork situations, and we went to one, I think it was in Atlanta. But it didn't really work, because the people were all working in isolated little bundles. They weren't all getting together, which is what human beings love, to mix with other human beings. They love to feed off each other's energy.
Yes.
And we need that. So I think we've got to get back into the community spirit and
Absolutely.
join different clubs and have different things just to get into that.
Yeah.
Just in closing, tell us from the Mind Valley point of view, because it was born of everybody getting together, like-minded people getting together, and as you know, that vibe is so fantastic. You could not be miserable or depressed in that vibe. Tell us a bit
Exactly.
about that, just to finish.
Yeah. Well, it started with Vishen a couple of years ago. He basically said, And he was still living in Malaysia at this time. And he said he'd love to go to Europe for a couple of weeks holiday, but he didn't really go just his family. He said, I'd love other families to come with us. And so he just put it out there, would any other families like to join us? We'll be in Europe between these weeks, and, just come and join and have some fun. And before he knew it, there was like 300 people there.
Yeah.
So that was his very first get together. And then the very next year he called it Awesomeness Fest. And so Awesomeness Fest was really born out of getting like-minded people to come on holiday together.
Yeah.
And then he started calling it Mind Valley University, because it really was a place where people just learned so much from each other. They walked away as if they'd been on a holiday. So your spirit has been lifted, you've been recharged, but you've learned so much, because a learning platform also feeds the soul. And so people that are lifelong learners are not depressed, in my opinion. If you're a lifelong learner, you're always going to be in the positive space. And this year was the first year he'd called it MVU, which is actually Mind Valley U, because he's focusing on you and not university. He's focusing on the individual person, and it's all about you showing up, and what can he give to you, and what can you take away from it, and how many people can you meet. And it's just amazing the way that he structured it, because it's not as if you've got to stand there and attend all the lectures. People are coming and going in the different speaking halls. People are having their own little community meetings and going for lunches, or finding spaces. So like, it's just a place for it's now thousands of people. We had about 2,000 people actually attend, and so thousands of people are getting together, but they're all just connecting. They're connecting, and again, in the connection, how do we serve more? That's the bottom line, is in this connection, how do we get together to serve more people, to be there for more people? And I think with that philosophy, it just expands, and the energy is there anyway, because everybody is thinking about not just themselves, but everybody is thinking about what can they do for others. And so it is a beautiful space to be in. If anybody has an opportunity, next July, it's happening in Estonia. So he's taking it to Estonia. I think that it's been in Estonia once before, and that's where,
his wife comes from Estonia, but we went to Estonia, and what all the men will love is the women there are incredibly beautiful. Every woman in Estonia is just incredibly beautiful. We were blown away. We couldn't believe our eyes. We were just looking at these women. They were amazing. So I'm just thinking, in essence, mindfulness is about cultivating a heightened awareness of the present moment and fostering a compassionate attitude towards oneself. Don't worry about other people. You've got to start with you. You've got to get yourself right first. So I think that is really, really important. And by engaging in mindfulness practices, individuals can create greater clarity, understanding, and acceptance of their thoughts and emotions. And it's so important to accept your own thoughts and emotions. Accept them. You might not like them, but like with yourself, those of you who saw my pictures, because it's our 46th anniversary of Hirsch's, and I don't know, did you know me when I had my big black hair? I had huge black hair.
I remember photos,
And just seeing that, if you don't like something about yourself, you can change it. And I had that thick, this was the day before hair straighteners. I've always put pre-hair straightener, post-hair straightener. And my hair was huge, and it was like bushy, and it was long, and it just was wild. And then I decided one day, I think I'm going to be blonde. And they said, you can never go blonde. That'd be ridiculous. You've got pitch black hair. I went blonde, and I straightened my hair, and it changed my life, I promise you. So if you can change your hair like that, you can change your mind like that as well. And I think people have to know that you can change anything about yourself. You've got to get the greater clarity on yourself first. So if you've got clarity of exactly what you're like, and what you like about yourself and what you don't like about yourself. You hone in on what you like, you ignore what you don't like, and it falls away. Anything you ignore, you get rid of. And I think we can control our emotions, we can control our mental health. And if we can do it, then we should show other people, because you've always got to lead by example. You can show other people that they can control their mental health, that they can know that they've got the strength to do anything. And at Hirsch, we all say, all I need is within me now. And you've got to say it, so many times, all I need is within me now. All I need is within me now. And so you play on the words and make each word stronger. And you know that you can do anything. And you can get over anything that you need to get over. So I think definitely what you eat makes a huge difference. So what you're eating now is making you depressed, change your diet completely. And I always say go vegan, because you'll never look back if you do. It's hard, but you'll never look back if you do. And just be the best you that you can possibly be. You know, you met my friend Melanie, and she encouraged me to be vegan, and I've changed my life. It changed her life when she became vegan. It changed my life. And it's just such a wonderful way of living. Let's just recap, to breathe properly. I think it's really important to breathe properly, to be out with nature. You've always got to work hard. You've got to do what you've got to do. But I think the whole crunch is in helping others. If you can help others, you're in the pound seats. Just a wrap up from you. Our time is almost up here. So just a wrap up from you quickly, Kerry.
Oh, there we go. Shane's just posted a picture with you, your curly black hair in the chat. so that's what I wanted to believe. You know what? We should be able to laugh at ourselves.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Have a giggle at ourselves. Let's have a laugh. I've honestly found the people that I have seen heal are the people that laugh the easiest.
Yeah.
I have a Thai monk that comes to see me on a regular basis, and he's always been so concerned, and I've got to check all his cells, and I've got to check, and he double checks everything, and it's so exhausting actually, because he's like so concerned about his health and his check. This last one, he came to see me last week, and I looked at him. I said, something's changed. And he was smiling and he was relaxed. And I'll tell you now, his body was healthier.
Oh,
His
really?
body was healthy. I said, you have done something. I don't know what you've done, but you have changed. And I noticed just in the happiness, in the happy state that he was, the cells responded and he healed. And that's what we got to remember, is actually laugh at yourself, spend more time smiling and laughing and having fun, and it'll lift your spirits. It'll lift your mind.
Absolutely. Do you know that every one of the Hirsch staff, of which we have about 2,500 now, have to send me a picture of themselves smiling every day. So their boss in each shop takes a picture of the entire staff. They have to have a smile on their face, and smiles have teeth. They don't want to smile like this. They have to have teeth. And it's just incredible, and it just lifts their spirit. Sometimes it's the only time of day that they do smile. So I think it's really important to practice smile. And we teach the Mrs. South Africans, I work with Mrs. South Africa, and on the 14th of November, we're crowning our next Mrs. South Africa. And to teach them to smile, they have to stand with a smile on their face for 3 hours. And you have to put your tongue behind your front teeth like this. And then you just automatically smile. And it just makes you feel better, because as those muscles lift up, your pituitary gland releases all your happy pills down your back, and you just feel so much better. And it's just the most incredible thing. So there we go, folks. That was our talk on mindfulness and mental health. And, your mental health is a choice, like everything else in your life. Your life is a series of choices. Choose to be happy, choose to have a smile on your face, choose to help others, and choose to look after yourself, and everything will go well. Thank you so much. And of course, we always look forward to next month. We'll be posting all of the adverts for next month's talk. And I think it's the last one, hey, because that's November, and we don't do December because you're all on holiday, and we don't do January because you're all getting back. So then after next month, if you miss next month, we'll only see you again in February, but we'll look forward to that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kerry, for being there always. Thank you to everybody who's watching. Thank you to all those who are going to watch live on Facebook. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you, guys.